Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, everyone over in the East Coast. Afternoon, I guess, over in the pond. Hope you can hear me okay. So, what's today about? Today is all about the bond market selling off because unemployment report's a little longer than normal. So, than they expected. So, that helps the ES. And as you see, the ES is up. So, just keep that in mind in there. At least that's the way I look at it. So, right now, non-event. Now, a lot of people want to play NVIDIA for next week, and I thought we'd go over historical uh, action after a split. So I'm going to do this next week also, and that doesn't mean NVIDIA is going to get killed. It doesn't even mean NVIDIA has to go down. So just, keep that in mind in there. It doesn't even have to go down. We're talking about how it acts into a run up. That's all we're talking about. No more, no less. So I'll show you what we're talking about. So this, and I showed this in the chart patterns mastery. And keep in mind, we're long things. We're long a lot of things too. So just don't think it's just one way and we're just going crazy. We're not. But that's what I want to show you. So you got the QQQ there. You got the NVIDIA here, and the whole theory isn't that it has to get killed. It's that a lot of times with splits, they come back to where they were, not necessarily the announcement that was in here. It's back to the parabolic move from a couple of days before. So I just want to show you those arrows, and now we're going to go to a lot of other ones. So the first one I wanted you to see was Cisco, and you got to go way back to 2000. So, and this was unpopular on stock twits where I showed this, but I want to show it anyway. So that's your run up. I'm not saying that it couldn't have gone up higher. And I know it was valued high and all that garbage. I know all that. So like I said, I got the most hate mail I've ever gotten when I posted that NVIDIA could go back to where it ran up. Well, that's what this did. It took about 6 days. All it did was go back to where it was run up. And now you might ask, well, why there? Because that's the path of least support on the way down. That's all it is. Doesn't mean markets have to get killed. It's just the path of least support on the way down. So just keep that in mind. So I want to show you a bunch of other ones. So you got that one. Let's go take the Tesla. Now, let me just tell you another thing. Usually it's the second split after the first one that's the kiss of death if the splits are relatively close to each other. Just keep that in mind when we show you Tesla. So there's your Tesla. And yeah, everybody on Stock Twitch was like, well, NVIDIA could double. You're full of it. I'm just talking about short term. Look at that in Tesla. This is the first split in 2020. And as you see in here, the stock ran up 5 days before. See the 5 days? And then it went down 5 days after. Isn't that amazing? Just did the same thing. Just did the same thing in there. Just went and did that. Now, keep in mind, it exploded after that. It doubled. Good for us. Guess what? Back here, you can't make this garbage up. We sold our house back here in Tesla to on the river in Tequesta, Florida, to a 92-year-old. Now that's a little crazy in itself, but you can't make up. Here I am, a day trader. He bought it with Tesla stock. Yeah, you can't make that stuff up, but that's a true story. Did I stay in Tesla? No, the earnings are coming out. Did I sell calls against Tesla? No, I just waited for the house sale to consummate. It's pretty amazing though. Sort of weird, for me of all people to have that happen. So just keep that in mind. So what else are we going to do in here? Well, I wanted to show you Tesla. That's the high. And then it went up. It's the second split that was the kiss of death. So let's go into that. So as you see, what happened in the split? Yeah, it ran up again into the split and came back to test it. Now, this was a little different. Little different because it already had a split, but it still came back to where it was at the split announcement. That's all we're doing. We're talking about the pop from the split announcement. That's all we're talking about. Here you go. Here's the split in Amazon. Rallied into the split, sold off to the split. That's it. I could go through 100 other ones, and almost everyone rallied into the split and sold off. Like, Amazon, great company. It went up after that. I'm not talking about this being the entire bubble popping. So just keep that in mind. I have to do a trade in here whether I want to or not. So we have a position in GNRC, the hurricane stock, but we have a position for today. So I'm constantly hedging what we have. There. So all I'm doing in here is trying to show you that and then showing you the NVIDIA. So like I said, I know NVIDIA is the best thing since sliced bread. I'm just talking about it going back to here. It could overshoot, but I'm telling you, if it overshoots, then you probably have the NDX overshoot, but not as much. So just look at NVIDIA here and where it was in the parabolic move. So take that day. That's May 23rd. The announcement was May 22nd. Where was the NDX right then? Just remember May 23rd. So the NDX, believe it or not, was only here. We're not talking about a massive move. Well, that's 600 points. Yeah, I guess it's massive. That's like the QQQ going back to 450. So how about the SMH? Where would that put the SMH? That would put it back under 240. So the announcement was actually here. So we're doing things in SMH. We're doing things in NVIDIA. That's all we're doing. When it comes to the short side, we're trying to take advantage of things that happen after a split. So things that happen after a split. So I just wanted you to realize that's what we're looking at. And like I said, that doesn't mean it has to go straight down, which brings me to the next thing that I thought you'd like to see. So now I've had a lot of problems with Thinkorswim integration since Thinkorswim was merged into Schwab. Now I know it's not really Thinkorswim, it's Schwab. But when I have two instances of it up, it has a habit of breaking on me. So I'm going to put it back up on a separate. I have this where I have all these screens. But if I want to put in a one screen to show you on demand, the problem is it usually locks up. But we're going to try it again. And by the way, if you have multiple screens up, let me show you how you know that something bad is going on. Watch the time. Obviously it's every second. If all of a sudden you see that stop and go from like 15 to 19, you're screwed. That something's going on and you got to restart it. Just a little hint in there. So now what we're going to do in here is we're going to go into on demand. Because I want to show you this with like a Microsoft. And like I said, this doesn't mean the whole market has to go down or it crashes or whatever. So whatsoever. We'll go into Amazon. So because that was June 6th, believe it or not, of 2022. June 6th. Like I said, you had that little high right here. Right there. June 6th. So, and now what you're going to see is this. You're going to see June 6th. That's a Monday. So the split happens the 3rd, but starts on the Monday. So what you're going to see in Amazon is the top wasn't the exact opening. It was afterwards. So now, you might say, well, yeah, if I shorted the open, I'm dead. You wait for that. You wait for that little consolidation on the way down. This is on the day of the split. Now, remember, my theory is that it eventually goes to here. So the day of the split, if you short the opening, you would have lost a couple of points. You short the consolidation after the first break. So now take 2 days later. There, and now it did what you thought it would do. So there's your break, and it just kept going. So if you think that it's only a couple of days, take it 2 weeks later. There you go, all the way back down. So now you might say, well, how about Tesla? How about the first Tesla? You know, the one I was showing you. So the split in 2020. Let me find it again. So all we're doing is trying to decide how we're going to time this if we time it. If we time it. I personally think you just mess around and do some spreads in NVIDIA for like the next 2 weeks. That's what I think. All right, the split. That was 2022. Like I said, that one wasn't the best. 825. So yeah, it went down right here. So I actually had the wrong day for you. It was 825 of 2022. Let's go into there. I'll just go into a lot of these. I'm telling you, this can really help you trading. 825, not 831. So you're going to see when was the top? The top was the opening. The opening. Was there another play? Heck yeah, that consolidation. But what's interesting is there's your run up. Like I said, it went a lot higher later. We're talking about the run up about 5 days, 2 weeks before the split. So what did it do a week later? There you go. Took it all back. So that's all we're talking about when it comes to this. Now, keep in mind, though, the next thing you're going to want to know is what happened the day before the split. So you go into August 24th. You're going to see it rallied. So, in fact, it sold off just like NVIDIA is now. I hate when it does that. Let's see if I can get the adjustment correctly. Usually what happens is it sells off just a bit, then it rallies. Yeah, it's not going to let me do it. But it usually sells off a little, let's say on a Thursday, like NVIDIA, rallies, let's say Friday afternoon. Now, if it rallies all day, it usually sells off. It's weird on how that happens. So let's go into the first split in Tesla. So I'm just telling you, this is how we've been playing this stuff. And anything like this is risky. Just keep that in mind. Anything like this is risky. But let's go into the split in 2020. There, like I said, it went a lot higher later. But let's just go into the split. That one's 831. So I did the wrong one. Let's go to 831 of 2020. So as you say, it went nutso into the end of the day, into the end of the day on 831. Just went straight up. Forget that on the right. So let's go to the first. See if it works. A lot of times it adjusts them. There you go. Look at that. Now, it did give you another chance. I know that's messing up in there. There. So what happened the day of the split is it opened up and got killed and then went to test it. Then it went down. So I just want you to know that eventually, like a week later, they have a habit of going down. That's all I mean. And I don't mean to bash NVIDIA whatsoever. I'm just talking about it going to where the rest of the ones have after a couple of weeks. So, definitely keep that in mind. And the other thing, so that's one of them. The other thing I want to show you is this. If you're going to play something ultra intraday, you just play it and you go for support levels. So we shorted Apple earlier. I want to show you all we did in the Big Apple. And I'm going to go over this. You're not going to be with me on the close. I'll be in the Simpler Central and the Chart Patterns Mastery. But this is something that worked. It's an art, not a science. So number one, Apple, after the opening, you're playing it to go to the strike price. Right here. So I missed this one. We made this one. Shorted at 84, bought it at 08. You buy it at support on an expiration day. We just made her quick 80 cents. I'll do that all day. So how'd I do it? I shorted stock, but you could have bought the puts. Now, I want to show you what happened yesterday because it was pretty exciting. So Apple has a big buyback. So Apple has a habit of going down at the end of the day. So if you can combine that with a chart pattern, it's a beautiful thing. So I want to show you what's happened lately. So here's Apple right here at 1540. See on how it's right in this zone? Right here. Right there. Right here at about a half hour to go. That's where everybody starts anticipating they'll stop buying back stock. They can't buy back stock the last 10 minutes. That's just an SEC rule. Or FINRA. I always get that messed up. So the idea in here is that the stock that we buy the cheap puts. So we bought the 195 puts at 68 cents. It was posted. So they went to here. Now I sold them at 83 and 93 cents. So you might be like, well, why? Well, every day at 355, it's bounced. So you might be like, well, why didn't you make this move? Well, we got out right here. But take the big picture. That's called a Brecher ledge, where it sells off and then consolidates with a horizontal trend line. So you see what happened. Yeah, it broke it. It was just so late in the day. I sold half. I should have stayed in the other half. But if we see this pattern today and we see the stock, it's up here. If it was down here, I'd be buying the 195 puts. Now it's too far away. Not touching it. But that thing of it going down at the end of the day, go and check out the day before. Look at that. Heck yeah. Look at that. From 196.5 to 195.60. It works. A lot of these work. Now, you don't want it on a Friday when it's too far out of the money. But on a Monday, it's really good, especially if it's near the strike price. Well, that's a coincidence. On the close. So there are a lot of buyback stocks. So that's one way to do it. Just want to let you know. So a couple of other things. So first thing you might want to know, aren't there other stocks that have big old buybacks? So you can play those also. So you don't have to just focus on the Apple. Now, keep in mind, the reason I like Apple is because it has a lot of it has tight markets and trades a lot. But there are ways to try to find the buyback stocks. Then you got to go to 1550 and you have to find if other stocks have done the same thing. So let me just show you this because this is just homebrewed research. There's actually a buyback ETF. And then what you do, this is just a buyback ETF. You go into quick links and you find their holdings. Those are the ones buying back a lot of stock. So they have Booking, Marriott, Hilton, AutoZone, really expensive. AutoZone, Toll Brothers. Now, this is only in consumer discretionary because I group by sector. This is everything. Johnson & Johnson, Booking, Lockheed, Deere. And then you go and you reverse engineer and you see if any of those are messing around at the end of the day. Now, there are a couple of caveats. Number one, you need a choppy market. If the markets are going straight up, then heck, companies aren't buying back stock because the ES and the SPX are pulling it up. So yesterday was choppy. So just take the Deeres, the PayPals, and let's go and reverse engineer and see if it worked. So let's go and look. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the Deeres of the world. And we're going to look at 5 minute. Yeah, it's been choppy. And then we're going to look at a 1 minute or 2 minute. You can see, you already know where I'm going with this. That's yesterday on the close. 372.5 to 371. Look at that. There you go, 1.5. Now, keep in mind when you're looking at that, you might be like, well, maybe the S&P got destroyed at the end of the day. Go and check this out. This is the S&P on a 1 minute chart, non-24 hour. It went up. So this went up and that went down. So you have the violators, I call it, that when the market was going down, they refused to go down. And then at the end of the day, lack of buybacks. So let's take Marriott. Did that go down? Nah, it's too thin for me. Look at all the dots and dashes like Morse code. So not that one. So let's take some other ones. Lockheed. Now, I don't mess with Lockheed. And the reason I don't is number one, it's thin. And number two, nobody wants to be short overnight just in case bad things happen geopolitically. So I take that one off the list. Let's take Johnson & Johnson. Yeah, look at that. Right there. So don't think the S&P pulled it down. No, the S&P was going up. So what I do is I do this. I just go and start compiling a list of buyback stocks. But I include, see how the arrow is starting to move around? So what I'll do is I'm not putting everyone. I'm putting the ones that seem like violators. So we'll put, I call them violators because to me it seems like they're manipulating. So you got the Apple, the Johnson & Johnson. We just said Deere. And then check these out. Now remember, the S&P went up on the close. It did this the last 20 minutes. So are there other violators? Like I said, I call them violators. Meta. What did that do on the close? It got destroyed. So I'm going to go over here to buyback's biggest. And that's all I'm doing. And we're going to play these in our rooms today. So we got these. We got the Meta. All right, how about Google? Did Google go down on the close? From 177, well, yep, it sure did. All right, how about Microsoft? These are just from experience. I know about these. Nope, it went up. So they're probably not buying back stock. All right, let's take some more. I love doing this because we're trying to get an edge for trading later in the day. So just keep that in mind. I'm seeing if there are any others that really excite me. No, maybe Expedia. No, too thin. How about JP Morgan? I know they're buying back stock. Yeah, that went down right on the close. So we put the JP Morgan in there. So I'm just telling you, that's one way of homebrewed research. The other way is stock biggest buybacks. Just go put it on Google, because sometimes other ones are buying back when you didn't think they would. So, and like I said, I'm not giving advice on the YouTube channel what I think of the SPX. You're going to have to join a room. So sorry about that, but that's just the way it is. So SPX, JP Morgan, SPX rallied. What's JP Morgan going to do, or any of these? Well, let's take some other ones that might have biggest buybacks. Like I said, I Googled it. Nike. What did it do on the close? It got nailed. So we're going to put the Nike in here. That doesn't mean we're going to trade these today, but I'm just telling you, that's the kind of ideas we're going to do. So let's find some other ones. Texas Instruments. What did it do on the close? Not much. How about Lennar? Nothing. So I'm just telling you, that's the way I'm going to try to play this stuff. So just keep that in mind. I have no idea with MicroStrategy because Bitcoin is just forming a tight pattern. So I don't know what to tell you in there when it comes to that. So just let you know. So I just don't know. And the options are a joke. So I just can't trade that. But like I said, I'm looking at a bunch of biggest buybacks. And don't laugh, I'm looking at Google, looking them up. So Google has one. I mean, we know they have them. NVIDIA has one, by the way. And also keep in mind something else. You know, we're going to try to play NVIDIA at the end of the day. That's probably our biggest theory. So I just want you to know that. But even stocks like Booking have big buybacks, believe it or not. Now, the problem with Booking, it doesn't trade a lot, as you see, but it did go down 30 points on the close. So I'll put Booking in here, sure. The problem is the options you can drive a truck through, but it's fun to look at it. So there's NVIDIA. There's Comcast. I never put that in. Doesn't trade that that like crazy. It's only a $30 stock. Visa. Let's look at that one. And MasterCard for that matter. Visa on the close. Yeah, it went down a little. How about MasterCard on the close? Went up. So I'll put Visa in here. Sure. I love doing this kind of stuff. So we got the Visa and the Booking. So let's find some more. But this is the way we build a list. I mean, this is the way we build a list. And then we use the list later. So how about TMUS? Well, it trades a lot of options. And yeah, that's got a big buyback. Didn't move a lot. But we love playing this kind of stuff. CVX, I don't play the oils. And let me look at some more. But that's the way that we construct a chart. Exxon doesn't move. It moves with all the other ones, with all the other oils. You got Microsoft, which didn't do anything on yesterday. Meta, Google, and then the granddaddy Apple. So Apple's the biggest. So just keep that in mind. Apple's the biggest. So that's what I'm looking at. So the overall market, I just don't think it's going to do a lot if the Russell doesn't start rallying. So, but, you know, it's exploration. You get some crazy stuff. So that's what I'm watching right now is choppiness. Just choppiness for now. GameStop, you got that roaring kitty guy coming out. Well, we think it's a guy. I'm not sure if it's not a bot, but GME filed to sell an additional 75 million shares and it released its lack of earnings. So GME, we're probably going to play Intraday as a neutral because on the one side, you got the hype. On the other hand, you have the GME selling at the market from time to time 75 million shares. That means volatility crush. Believe it or not, the expected move has gone up because he's doing a live stream now. I'm going to try to play GME later. I'm just not sure how I'm going to play it yet. Look at that. They stopped trading it. See how it's all white? So I'm not going near it. Not going near it. Just want to let you know that. Oh, that's where I am when it comes to that. So I don't look at gold and silver. Like I said, the commercials are so negative in gold. That's why I won't buy rallies. Just won't buy rallies. Silver, I don't know why everybody likes it when the economy might be slowing down. So I didn't touch silver, didn't touch gold. On the other hand, you got a heat wave out west, and we're long corn. Now, we're not long a lot of corn. We sold a lot yesterday, but we're in corn. I'm too excited. I put it wrong. Here you go. There's your corn. Stopped at support. That's where we loaded up. This is where we got out at resistance. So I'm in a little, not a lot anymore. So, and like I said, GME, I don't know yet. I want to see how the chart pattern lines up, but I'm looking at something like under the market. He's gonna hype it right now. If it doesn't go up on that, you could see this stock at 25 again. Right now, the volatility trades, the butterflies are just too darn expensive. So I can't do them. Just can't do them. Might want to do them later, but not now. But I'm telling you, I'll tell you, I could show some kind of butterfly trade and just tell you I'm not doing it. And the reason I'm not doing it is number one, it stopped trading. That's all you need is to do something for today and to stop trading the rest of the day. That's all you need. Now, on the other hand, sure, you could do one for next week, but keep in mind, pre-market, this was 60. 60. If I did anything, I'd do it for next week because you worry about it stop trading. Now, the problem is to structure something. If you're going to do something like 10 point wide with a week to go, it better be under $2. And I just don't see the rationale because you'll see. It's going to be $3. I don't even. Yeah, $1.50 isn't bad, but keep in mind that middle strike's going to keep premium for a long time. Usually with these, I'll do real wide. But like I said, you got that stop trading risk. So just keep that in mind. You got that stop trading risk. That's always a tough thing. So I don't mind the idea of doing that. Now you might say, why don't you just sell a call credit spread? Well, that's all you need is for it to go to 100. Usually with this. So I'll just give you a couple of ideas. Number one, when the company last time sold whatever amount, like 40 million shares, 20 million, something like that, they came out on a Friday afternoon after the close, but between 4 and 5, and said that they completed their offering. The stock went from 19 to 23 after hours. So just keep in mind that if you do trade something in there, let's say next Friday, you could buy out of the money calls, but you got to stay here. And then if it goes crazy, you can actually call your clearing firm between 4 and 5 and exercise and sell the stock. So that's something we do in Chart Patterns Mastery. I show them all the time, just to let you know. So everything else, what are we doing today? Well, you got opposing forces. You got the transport stabilizing. On the left, you got the Russell going straight down. Very dangerous. You got the bonds down, but they're only where they were a couple of days ago. So you got the Russell down. You got the ES is where things are rotating into. So if they're getting out of NVIDIA, they're probably going to rotate into this stuff. And also, and this is the fun thing I wanted to go over with you. Give me 1 second. All right. So just to let you know, because we do this stuff all the time, I combine a lot of things, charts, correlations, all kinds of shapes and sizes. So one thing you have to be aware of is fundamental news. I don't care if other people say it doesn't matter. It does matter. I've done this longer than anybody else. So when you know Apple has a developers conference on Monday, I'm not touching it at 196. I was playing that little twerk. Now you might say, but the developers conference is at 1 in the afternoon. So why on earth does it matter about right now today? Because they might have prepared statements beforehand. You don't play Apple today unless it was exactly at the strike price. So just keep that in mind in there. So the other things I'm doing. So I want to show you some of the other stuff. One of them is there was a Wall Street Journal article about let me see if I can get it up here. About the new, they're calling them some kind of weird generation traders. So basically, what they're doing is that YOLO thing. You only live once. You know, that thing you've heard about. And this time it's called this. They're called the degen traders, like degenerate kind of thing. So don't write off finding unusual option activity. I was on the essentials a couple of days ago going over that. So just, keep that in mind in there about that kind of degen thing. And that means finding funky stocks. So I'll show you a couple of ways to find funky stocks. So one way is FinViz. You know I like FinViz. Now I'm talking about you're getting speculation in things. And what I also mean is that bullish patterns are more likely to work. This was actually posted on StockTwits down here. So bullish patterns are more likely to work. Now, maybe a $4 stock will work too because all these degen traders are looking for them. So I'll show you a scan. Now, this isn't a scan on Thinkorswim. This is just a simple scan on FinViz. You're going to see on FinViz, I haven't even logged in. So here's your trusty FinViz. All I do in here, there are a couple of ways to do it. You can take things with float short. Let me make this a little bigger for you. And take the high shortable stocks. You got to have good volume. So let's say over 300,000. We're going to go industry X funds, optionable and shortable, because a lot of these risky stocks, I'd rather buy options. So then what we're doing is we're going to look at relative volume. We want the ones that are starting to show some cooking, so to speak. So here's some relative volume, but I want you to realize you want to go for the ones that are up number one. So you're looking for those degen stocks. So you're going to see this stock. I've played this stock now since when I was on the floor in 1993. This stock's a turkey. The only time this goes up is when there's speculation. It's always been between 2 and 4. But you see that a lot of these are starting to move. There you go. Bull flag is starting to work. $2 stocks starting to work. These are ones with relative volume. And I'm telling you, those degens are not looking at $80 stocks. They're looking at garbage stocks. So just go in here and do a screener of relative volume. And in fact, if you want, just take stocks between like 1 and 20. I'm telling you, that's the way we find some of these. There's a garbage one for you. And keep in mind, you have June expiration in 14 days. A lot of times these have cheap calls, like 3.5 calls. So that's how we like to play some of this. There's one for you. That had a nice pattern. And before you say, oh, I missed them all, there's going to be more. Just try to find those triangles. Just do some homebrewed research. There's one for you. I'm not saying to buy any of these. I'm just telling you they're sticking out. So you see, there's one. But that's like a holding company. But I'm just telling you, go into FinViz and mess around with scans. That's what I do. And that's all I'm doing right now. So I'm watching the market have opposing forces. Russell down, bonds down, but a lot of things holding in. So I think today, I'm just watching if NVIDIA goes up, it's going to keep everything up. So NVIDIA doing what we talked about. It could rally the day before the split, which is what it's doing. So at the moment, markets look okay. Now, I don't mind playing Apple end of the day. You know, I've done that stuff before. Definitely done that stuff before. But at the moment, when you watch NVIDIA going up, it just seems like all bets are off every way you look at it. So I'm just not doing a lot at the end of the day. I just want you to know that. Not doing anything. I like the idea of GME under the market next week. But for today, you got to think if it doesn't go up with him doing a live stream at noon, it isn't going to go up. Because the company's selling stock into any rally. But that's what I'm watching. Which means I'm not doing a lot in here. Just not doing a lot in here. Except if NVIDIA goes up, then any reason for the ES to go down other than bonds just isn't there. So just keep that in mind. So everything else, it's all about Nvidia going up, and nothing's going to go down if Nvidia is finally stabilizing, which it is. Good for Nvidia. Like I said, the things we're doing are for next week. So just keep that in mind, not for today. This is all about Nvidia coming back like a lot of these do pre-split. So I'd love to play this for 2 weeks from now. Like I said, this could go to 1255 first. So I'm looking at stuff out of the market, out of the, for next week or the week after. That's it. No more, no less. And keep in mind, while the market's going up, it's still a really narrow rally. The advanced decline's down 1,100. So if you're pissed off because you're long a stock with the ES up 8, that's what happens when the advanced decline's that negative. So this is definitely relief. Definitely a relief rally, no doubt about it. But I'm not sure when it's going to stop. And that's where I am right now. So Apple, yeah, could go on its march back to 195 again. This is on the high, Apple selling off. So chart patterns mastery will be playing that, no doubt. And I'm telling you, if this is, I don't have a clue yet of what to do for the rest of the day. So I do know if Nvidia stays up like this, I'm real interested to see if the ES stays up. So keep in mind this advanced declines bout. We watch that also. We watch a lot of factors. So just keep that in the back of your mind. That's what we do. So the pattern lines is just put in there by them. So yeah, they have some liberal ways to put in pattern lines, no doubt about it. But all you're doing in like an Nvidia, whether it's a daily chart of the slop stocks or this, I think you see what everybody's watching. They're watching that. So now, just like I showed you in FinViz. So, I mean, you see the triangle, you respect the break in either direction. You don't have to play Nvidia today if you don't want. The things I'm showing you are for a week out. Just keep that in mind. But that's definitely helping sentiment in the NASDAQ like it should. So, in fact, RK1, I got something to show you. There's a 1-minute chart of Nvidia. You see the triangle. So now we're going to digress and go back to FinViz and go to that unusual options stock stuff. And I just want to show you similar patterns lead to similar results. So I'm going to go back to Screener. Yeah, I have a lot of windows open. It might not work. But But you're going to see in here, you just saw the chart of NVIDIA, and then you're going to see the chart of other ones that have already broken that have triangles. It's really sort of cool. So some of them have broken it. Look at this. Now, I have no idea what that does. All I know is it's gone from 1 to 3, but that's the kind of stuff you're looking for. But definitely the triangle breakouts. So I don't like where they're that slope, but whether it's a 1 minute chart or like this one, a daily, you see the similarity between this and that. The only difference, is there any difference between this triangle? Yeah, this is more of a reversal triangle, but I just respect a triangle break in either direction. So NVIDIA was a triangle break to the upside. I'd rather have a triangle after a rally. And also, in answer to your question about those trend lines, they're the ones putting them in. Look for those little bull flags at the trend line. So they work. So just want to let you know that. So right now in NVIDIA, I'm just thinking it goes to the strike price. So in Chart Patterns Mastery, you know what I mean by that, the biggest open interest. So next week, yeah, I think it could go lower. You'd rather have some triggers. Remember, on the other ones, they went higher first. So just keep that in the back of your mind. And besides that, not doing a lot in here, I will tell you something. I'm watching these trend lines. So if you're new in here, just keep in mind when we watch the SPX or something, bulls reside over the ATR trailing stop. Just keep that in mind. So for now, the ES looks fine. Everything looks fine for now. So I think a lot has to do with NVIDIA. That's what I'm watching. So that's what I'm watching. I want to play GME later. I definitely want to play GME later. Not touching Apple yet. Just to let you know, not touching Apple yet. And that's where I am. I wouldn't be surprised to see NVIDIA go back right back to 12 today. So we're going to try to play that later, just so you know. Oh, one of my favorite patterns is a bull flag at a trend line. Let me see if I still have up FinViz. There's a bull flag at a trend line. You didn't have one there, didn't have one there, didn't have one there. All this is it's working off an overbought by not forming a bull flag, like you see. Forming a bull flag. So this is a bull flag. Let's take that stock. I have no idea what IREN is. But let's just take it so you get an idea of what I'm looking at. There's your bull flag. There's your trend line. So when the bull flag broke, it broke the bigger triangle. Pretty exciting. I had never looked at this stock in my life. But you see the bull flag. That little coagulation, tight triangle. Does it trade options? Yes. I've never heard of this stock. That's what I'm talking about. Those degen traders, they're jumping in garbage like this. So you just have to find those kind of triangles, and you can do a lot by looking at FinViz and looking for those type patterns. And these can go up more than you ever wonder, like Leafy Holdings. They probably don't have any money, and it only went from $1.50 to $4. Flurries, you get these flurries. And so I'm constantly in the background looking for those, just so you know. And so just to let you know, because it's a good question, RK1, all I'm doing is this. I'm taking a simple scan. I'm taking a scan of unusual volume, and I'm taking stocks that, and then just visually looking for good patterns. That's all. Because right now, those degen traders are going for the cheapies. So that's what you have to look for. And that's what I'm doing right now. Like I said, if you want to get bearish, you got to see, as you're day trading, we like to see a break of any of these lines on the upper right and then a consolidation. You're not seeing any of that. Maybe later. So that's what I'm going to be watching. Thanks for being with me. And Ken, yeah, you were talking about FFIE yesterday. Nice one. So take care, everyone. And I'll talk to you later and have a great weekend.